Hey guys, I'm Bobby Rio and I've got another video lesson for you today in this series on eliminating nice guy habits. So today's video lesson, I'm going to be talking about how to pass a woman's test. Because whether you realize it or not, every time you're dealing with a girl, whether it's a initial conversation or whether it's over the period of a blossoming relationship, she's going to be testing you. Now there's several reasons why she does this, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So the first reason that a girl will test you is because you're trying too hard and she senses that maybe you're not being yourself around her. Maybe you're putting on this sort of nice guy act. No matter how much you feel like, you're being yourself, and no matter how comfortable you feel in the situation, you probably have given a couple signals off to a woman that you're putting on an act, and she picks up on it. Maybe you're acting a little bit more confident than you normally would do, or maybe you're a little bit more shy than you usually would be, or maybe you're acting a little funnier, or some aspect of your personality gets a little exaggerated, and it sends a red flag up that maybe this guy isn't exactly the person he's portraying himself as. And once that happens, she will test you. See, a lot of guys wonder, why does it seem like, women like jerks, or why do women like bad boys or jerks or whatever? And a lot of it is because these guys naturally pass her tests. The reason they do is because they're not really trying to impress her, right? They're a little bit more honest in their actions. A lot of guys go, I don't want to have to be a jerk. I don't want to have to be fake. What they don't realize, though, is that being the nice guy, you're actually being more dishonest than these other guys are. These guys, these jerks, these bad boys, they're being real, and she picks up on that. Now, she can let her guard down because she's like, this guy's not really trying to impress me. He's just being himself around me, and something clicks in her mind, and she's like, maybe I should start paying a little bit more attention to this guy, right? What I want you to do is, I want you to think real quick about a guy you know. Maybe it's yourself, right? Who on the surface, he's good looking, he's kind of cool, he's funny, he dresses good, he does get, girls here and there, but never the girl he really wants. And maybe you can't figure it out. You go, what's his flaw? Why does he always lose the girl he likes? And I can almost guarantee it's because he's giving off a vibe that makes girls test him even more, and he's not passing these tests. So the second reason a girl will test you is because she senses that you might get clingy or needy if she hooks up with you. Now, this is something that I think is every girl's worst nightmare. The girl hooks up with a guy, and then he goes into stalker mode, texting her all the time, or trying to make her his girlfriend after dating for 2 weeks. This is why it's not a bad idea. What I like to do is bring it up in almost a preemptive way. Even a comment like, you're not going to become one of those stalker girls and we go on a date and you're going to be showing up at my work, right? You say it in a joking around way, but by saying it, you're acknowledging that I've dealt with it and I'm not that kind of clingy guy. The thing is, you can't just say it, right? You have to actually not be clingy or needy. So let's talk about the last one, though. Now, I'm going to admit that I've been really guilty of this one, and that's when you're trying too hard to be cool, and she senses it, right? And she wants to see if there's any kinks in your armor. You're coming across almost like you're too cool, and she's like, is this guy for real? Is he really this confident? She wants to know. To me, when I was learning some of this stuff years ago, I knew I had to act more confident, right? And I knew I had to project this carefree vibe. But at the time, years ago, it wasn't real. It was fake, right? I was shivering inside. And girls would throw a simple comment out there, and I would crumble. Everything, my whole facade would just crumble because she would say something. I had one girl, and we're flirting, and she goes, I'm not going to hook up with you tonight. All of a sudden, I did not know how to react to that, right? She looked at me, and I started backpedaling and apologizing and explaining myself, and everything that I had going for me was gone with that one comment. It's that moment where you falter. That's when you get tested. It's like, boom. It's almost like she can hear the thought in your head, and she goes oh, time to test this guy because I don't think this is the way he really is. It happened to me all the time when, I was trying to be too cool. Soon as a girl started realizing this might not be the guy he really is, I would get locked out. I would hear her say, "I'm not hooking up with you," or "Do you say this to all the girls?" Some comment that really now, when I think back on it, it's ridiculous, and I laugh over it because I realized that I was just being tested, and I failed, of course. But at the time, I just felt like she pulled the wind out of my sails. And I just went into this tailspin where I would just try to backpedal, and I would try to validate myself or try harder to prove why I was that guy, which would just make it so much worse. And of course, I would eventually or immediately lose the girl. Girls do this whether it's an initial conversation where she's flirting with you and she's trying to feel you out. They also do it a lot when there's a courtship going on. When you've got her number, right? Maybe you've gone on a date and you're trying to move things forward. You're trying to develop a relationship if that's what you're after. And having coached men now for over 11 years, what I found out is there's almost always a moment when the girl pulls back. All of a sudden, she was answering your texts and your calls really fast, and then boom, 2 days have gone by and she still hasn't replied to a text. Or maybe she was always available to hang out. Every time you asked her to hang out, it was like, "Oh yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, I'm free. Then all of a sudden, now she's like, "Oh, I can't," right? And what she's ultimately doing is she's going, she's like, "Everything was going great with this guy when I was validating him, when I was laughing at his jokes, when I was available. But how is he when things aren't going so smooth?" That's on the unconscious level. That's what she wants. Because it's real easy to be that guy when she's giggling, when she's texting you back right away, and she's showing up to dates on time. She's agreeing with everything you're saying. It's super easy to be that confident guy in those situations. I'm like, the Dos Equis guy when that's happening. I'm just like the most interesting, awesome man in the world when I'm getting that validation. But your real self comes out when she pulls back, and she knows that. And this is almost always because she realizes you're not as cool as she thought you were. When she met you, she saw you as having high value, but something happened, and now she sees you as having much lower value. Now, there's a right way and a wrong way to handle it when women pull back. Most guys handle it the wrong way, where all of a sudden now you don't know what's going on. You're in what I call, me and my friend Rob Judge, we call it emotional quicksand, because you're making all the wrong decisions. You kind of know you're making them, but you can't help yourself. I've been there. You're not on stable ground, and you're trying to claw back to her. And what happens when you're clawing back to her is your mind is convincing yourself, "I really like this girl, right? She's the only one for me. I need to get her back. I need to do everything I can possibly do to get her back. I got to get her back. I got to do whatever I can," right? Meanwhile, because you have that attitude, you're just pushing her further away. She was actually probably going to text you back like an hour, afterwards. But then you started texting, "Did I do something wrong?" or "What happened?" And, even my all-time worst when a student tells me is, "Are you still alive?" right? You just pushed her away when you sent that. Now, the interesting thing about this thing is that what I discovered is a lot of guys say, "Well, how do I pass her tests?" There's plenty of ways, right? We can always give you examples of how to pass the test. But even more powerful than that is beginning to test a woman yourself. Because when you're into her, she feels like a 12 on the scale of 1 to 10, and she feels like the king of the world, and she feels like, "I got this guy." But if you're not testing her, then you're giving her all the power and showing her that you feel like she's above you. And no woman, write this down, no woman wants to be with a guy who believes that she's above he is. So how do you do it? That's what I figured out. And I put together a special, free, online class where I'm going to teach exactly what signifies status and value to everyone around you, especially the women that you're attracted to. Now, because the online workshop is a little over an hour long, I have time to really break down what I believe are the 3 steps for transforming into a socially powerful, high-status, charismatic man who naturally passes these tests. And more importantly, how to overcome nice guy syndrome and live the life that you know you deserve. Now, I'm going to give you real-world examples of how to act in very specific situations to demonstrate value, what to say and do to command respect and pass every single test a woman throws at you. You also get a few exercises that you can do immediately to get you thinking and behaving in a new, empowering, high-status way. In fact, at the 9-minute mark of this workshop, I reveal a secret that'll completely change your social life if you grasp it and if you implement it. It's a secret that took me 28 years to figure out, but once I did, my social life turned around within months. I revealed that realization at around 9 minutes into this masterclass. Now, there are about a dozen other secrets and big ideas I reveal throughout the rest of it too. So click the link in the description and register for the special training. You don't even have to wait for this video to end. On the session, I'll show you things like why having a reputation as a nice guy will work against you and how to counteract it if the women already view you that way. I'll show you 3 high-value conversation techniques that send high-status signals without you having to say much at all. Now, if you're the type of guy who's quiet or reserved, you will love this. How to create an image of a socially powerful and charismatic guy using 6 specific behaviors and attitudes that command respect and admiration from everyone you interact with. I'll give you a simple yet surprisingly effective hack for eliminating the number 1 low-value behavior. This behavior is the real reason women lose interest in you, even if they initially liked you. I'll give you 12 low-status tells you might unknowingly be sending out, and how even eliminating just a few of these instantly increases your attractiveness to everyone around you. How to finally shed that feeling of I'm not good enough and everyone else is more important than me, so that people recognize and respect you immediately, which translates to business, financial, dating, and social success, even marrying a high-quality woman, and so much more. Remember, I'll be hosting just a few of these online training sessions for free, and all you need to do is pick your preferred date and time. So go ahead, do that right now. Now, as soon as you register, you'll receive an immediate copy of my high-value manifesto. Inside, I'll show you examples of the 7 most common tests and exactly word for word how to respond to these tests, right? When you know how to respond the right way, you actually begin looking forward to these tests as a chance to demonstrate high-value behavior. So don't sit on this. I highly recommend you take action and grab your free ticket by registering, and then I'll email you a copy of my famous high-value manifesto to download immediately. The training is 100% free, so click the link and register right now.